air. Hold it at the top. Open your mouth, audible exhale. Reverse your warrior. Breathe into your right side rib cage. Extended side angle, elbow to your knee, or maybe you drop your hand down towards the mat and unravel into your warrior two. Step or hop to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Lower down, chaturanga, low push-up. Inhale for upward facing dog. From here, we're dropping into Skandasana, speed skater towards the back of your mat. Sit as low as your knee permits. Open your hip. Look underneath your right armpit. Maybe you find your left toes. Find love in your words today. May you find peace within your hearts. Namaste.
Alrighty. What's up, Maggie?
Hey.
How's it going?
It's going good.
So we are going to get to know Maggie a little better. So my first question for you is, how many years of yoga experience do you have?
Counting in years, I started practicing when I was about 9 years old. I'm 19 now.
Okay.
And it doesn't mean that I had necessarily had a consistent practice from childhood. Mm-hmm. I was introduced to the practice at age 9 because I was a gymnast at the time.
Okay.
And it really helped go hand in hand. My mom and my sister dragged me along into yoga classes, and to be frank,
fell in love?
yeah, I loved it because it was another socially acceptable place to go stand on my head. But later on down the road, once I quit the sport and I had a lot more time on my hands, more towards high school, I started diving into the deeper aspects of the practice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it really changed, when I learned that there's so much more than the physical aspect of the practice.
Speaking of that, that's my next question, actually. Aside from physical, what's your spiritual beliefs? Because I know yoga has, you have your yoga practices, but can't you have your different spiritual, beliefs? Like what's
Yeah, yoga is very non-dogmatic. People will combine it with different religions. Traditionally, in India, is practiced alongside Hinduism. And I personally, for me, yoga is a way for us all to connect with that idea that divinity is within each and every one of us. And the sense that, let me put this into words.
No, you're definitely on. When I look at yoga, I take it as a lifestyle. You try to eat organic. You try to be like your organic self.
Yeah, yoga is absolutely a lifestyle. I think it's a common misconception that it's just doing silly shapes with your body in Lululemon pants. But when it wasn't until I got into yoga school, I went overseas for that, and I really started to learn that there's 8 limbs of yoga, of what the word yoga means.
Okay.
And so just one limb of it is the asana practice. You go deeper into it, there's the meditation, there's a way you should be eating, a way you should be sleeping, a way you should be interacting with other people. It's very much a lifestyle.
Oh, I'm going to change my stance because I'm going to get a little bit more personal with you, Maggie.
Yeah.
Yes. So you told us about your life story. What's your goals and aspirations with this whole thing?
Yeah. So right now, currently, I love teaching physical yoga classes, but later on down the road, I would think that, especially in the Western world, we have plenty of that right now, of vinyasa classes with pop music, and those are great, those are awesome. But I would love to introduce a little bit more of what I got to learn over in Asia, of the integrity of the practice, and bring that over here. So teaching more of the philosophy and more lecture-style classes further on down the road.
That's awesome. There's definitely purpose in your life, and I love that about you.
Yeah.
Speaking of purpose, there's got to be a meaning to these tattoos, because like I said, you're a purposeful person. Can you explain those tattoos for us?
Yeah. So I got this one when I was in Thailand. And there's a rose, and it goes into a rib cage and a pelvis, and it opens up into a moth. And so the rose here symbolizes life. The bone symbolizes death, and the moth here symbolizes rebirth.
Awesome.
And so I think that this is a cycle that we constantly go throughout within our life.
Awesome.
down below it, the next one I got says break the cycle. And I think that it goes hand in hand with this. And that's the ultimate goal, is breaking that cycle. And that's the ultimate goal of yoga, really.
Really, wow.
Moving over here, this fern here is the same kind of ferns that we had in my childhood home growing up. And that was always where I went to pray when I was younger.
Oh.
And so those are special to me. And most recently, I did this snake who's wrapped around flowers. And all of them go hand in hand in kind of unraveling back to that authentic place of yourself. And the snake is the combination of shedding those illusions, and in the flowers, in return, you get to blossom into your more true self.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. I'm going to move on to a couple questions that I was kind of curious about.
Yeah.
So I noticed that yoga is like a female driven industry, I guess you could say. I don't know the proper word. Do you see males transitioning over being like yoga instructors, yoga leaders?
Absolutely. When I was in India, actually, where yoga originated, it's much more of a masculine practice. Originally, there were schools that only men can go to and only practice at. And it's all men practicing over there.
Oh, wow.
I think that's a big shift between the East and the West, is that over here, and especially in America, it's a very feminine practice. I know that every yoga studio I've ever taught at, it's nearly all female yoga instructors, but everybody can use a little yoga. It's really great alongside any movement practice, whether you're rock climbing, you're running, you're swimming, you're weightlifting. It's such a good combination to help even everything out.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. So this portion of this segment of the interview, I guess you could say, I call it rapid questions. I don't want you to think too, heavily about these. Just the first thing that comes to your mind, answer the question. All right, my first question. What's your favorite style of music?
My favorite style of music? Folk music.
Folk music.
Yeah.
Favorite artist?
Favorite artist? Rising Appalachia.
Favorite song?
Favorite song? Resilient.
Oh, she was quick with that.
Yeah.
Nice. What's a typical meal you eat? Like, typical breakfast, dinner, lunch?
Fruit. Just straight fruit is one of my favorite snacks to go to.
Okay.
Not to be basic, but I could eat avocado toast for every meal.
Okay. So, favorite yoga instructor? Or yoga influencer?
Favorite yoga influencer? That's a tough one. There's so much controversy on a lot of like big gurus.
Yeah.
I have so many. It's hard to name one. I have so many powerful group of men and women around me that grew up around me and really influenced me into the woman I am today.
Okay.
My hometown teachers.
Bunch of them.
Yeah.
Okay, and my last question is there like how do I put this? There's like a high expectation on you to like live this perfect life because you're in the eyes of everybody. You're this organic, natural yoga person. Does that ever like get to your head? Do you ever get frustrated with that, or are you able to just adjust and live your own life without those expectations?
Yeah. As I stepped onto the other side of the yoga classroom and being a teacher, I found that people put you on this pedestal and they assume, okay, you must be a therapist, you must be a nutritionist, you must be all of these things in one, and I'm not. I think one of the biggest things I try to remind people is that there's your yoga teachers are just as human as you are, and in essence, that's the most spiritual thing you can do is be human.
Exactly.
I think that I do try to incorporate the acts of discipline into my life, but at the end of the day, there's no barrier between the teacher and the student. They're on the same path.
Well said. Well, Maggie, thank you for sharing your awesome energy, positive outlook on life, and yoga experience with me.
Yeah.
I greatly appreciate it. And like I tell everybody, #keep going.
#keep going.
All right, guys, we're out.